Welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast hosted by Rhodey and Diz. The boys will share their tall tales of the one that got away, as well as some regular segments they know all you fishing tragics will enjoy.
G'day and welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian Fishing Podcast, episode 135. Dizzy, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. We are looking forward to this one. We have some very timely news from Anton at Shark Watch. It's going to be a great episode.
My God, these sharks have gone nuts. And Anton Covino, Shark Watch South Australia on Facebook and Instagram. He could be the busiest man in the state.
He certainly could be. It's just unbelievable, and especially when you need to go from Ardrossan down to Normanville, back to Henley Beach, and then possibly, who knows where next. So very much looking forward to this chat. And before we do get in having a chat with him.
When's the next state election, just quickly?
2026
now,
March.
Malinowskis has to be like $1.01 favourite, doesn't he?
Oh, I don't think you can get odds on him.
Anyway, you reckon he could fit a helicopter for Anton in the budget?
I think so, mate. He'll find anything that he says, anything he touches turns to gold. That guy's doing a fantastic job for the state. Of course, we love live golf. We love gather round. We love all the showpieces.
Yes. Don't worry about any of the other policies. We're here for the sport, mate.
The next one's going to be Anton Covino's helicopter. Can't wait.
If he can get snapper fishing back, he's the man of the people.
True. Great call.
All right.
Let's get into
crack my beer and get into our oranges and lemons.
Okay. Get us underway with an orange, will you?
Dizzy, so we record here in my pool room on the pool table, and I'm looking across at a beautiful piece of kit, Diz, the Boomer Anchor. We've only talked about getting one of these for, 2 years?
Yeah, a while.
18 months since we met Duncan at the boat show, probably 2 years ago. Nearly 2 years.
Wonderful, wonderful piece of kit. Of course, they are all-terrain anchors.
And I've had a look. They're well put together.
Yes.
They look very professional. I even love the packaging it comes in.
Yeah, it's a very well designed, a very well presented piece of kit.
And so the way these work, for anyone that hasn't listened in the past, is you get your anchor caught on something, whatever it is, reef, rock, you can't get it out, and normally what does that mean? You lose your anchor. With a Boomer anchor, there's a split pin through the middle of it.
Yeah.
You exert a certain amount of force, and that split pin snaps, and the anchor sort of inverts on itself and pulls straight out.
Yeah.
And it comes with different size pins.
Yes.
To cover different boats and environments and whatever else.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to put that on the boat, Diz. That's my orange that we're never going to have to deal with an anchor drama again.
Good call. Love it, mate. Well done. Well, my orange is really that I'm just not sure where the winter is going to come. I feel like we had a little drizzle of rain somewhere at some point. Outside of that, I think we've got bugger all wind. We've got mid-20s weather. I'm not going to sit here and gloat. I appreciate how bad this drought is and the devastation it's causing in some communities, but the weather for your average everyday punter has been excellent.
Did you get a fire in your new extension, if I can say that word?
Yeah.
Shouldn't have bothered. Should have got a bore. You need a bore for the water bill.
Should have got a bore.
That's the only negative about all this. The water bill is through the roof.
Yeah, that's a good call. That is a good call. All right, let's roll into some lemons, Rhodey. What do you got?
Diz, we are going to talk about this algal bloom in the news, and again with Anton in the guest segment. The fish deaths are continuing, and they're getting worse. They're spreading across the state. We'll touch on a few more locations and species and things like that are affected in the news, but I know they say it's going to end, and it will end at some point, but we talked about the cold weather never coming. We need some cold weather, and we need we probably need a blow and some winter weather to get rid of this algal bloom.
Good call. It was only a few episodes ago that we had the guru, Faith Coleman, of course, on the show to tell us all about it, and I'm sure that she'd be following this one very closely. But you're right, we do need some sort of circuit breaker, if you will, to change the status, because the amount of fish kills that we're seeing come through on the socials, and I'm sure everyone else out there is getting quite concerning. Rody, I'm going to roll that into my lemon, which is, of course, losing our anchor.
Yeah, tragic, wasn't it?
That was a lemon and a half. It was a bit of a series of unfortunate events, I think, is probably the best way to describe it. And whether it was because of Anton's fantastic work that he does around Shark Watch, and there was quite a few sightings, and you weren't willing to get in the water and go.
Mate,
and
I got in the water.
it.
I got in the water. It was 8 meters deep, and I couldn't get to the bottom. I got in there with my snorkel. I didn't see you put the snorkel on.
No, yeah, good call. Good call. I didn't put the snorkel on. But it was, a series of unfortunate events, as I say. But anchor gone, and look, to be fair, I think we're better for it. We've
and
got
probably
to
the 45 minutes of fishing time we wasted trying to get the anchor out was worse. And then 2 days later, your dad saw a bloody great white at the spot.
Yeah.
Or round the corner from the spot.
Yeah, it was a bit of I think it was a good thing you didn't get into the water.
I did get in the water. What are you talking about?
That you didn't sort of,
I
frolic
didn't get
around like
diving.
a seal for too long.
Because we did swim out to the mooring out the front of your parents' shack about 8 times, and then there was a great white there the next day.
Yeah, and when you say we, you mean sort of you.
Yeah, I'm not sure you actually got wet at all.
I don't know that I did, actually. I think I might have supped out to it a couple of times.
Yeah, you sent me out at dusk and sunrise and all those risky sort of times.
It was interesting. I did speak to Dad, actually, after the sighting, and he said, I'm looking on Marketplace right now for a tinny. I'm not going out there on a sup anymore.
Oh, well, that's right. I'll get in on all the fishing trips because you won't get in the water and swim out to the boat.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, Rody, what's been doing well on the social media lately, mate? Of course, anything that we've shared to do with the shark and fish deaths and everything like that is, really just gaining some traction. We'll hear from Anton later in today's episode about the amazing traction that he's getting on his Facebook page. But what else is going on in our socials, Rody?
I also shared a little reel, Diz, of your techniques of collecting squid once you've hooked them. Do you net them or do you grab them?
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
I don't know whether you watched that one, Diz. That was from a couple of months ago. He took that footage, and probably the overwhelming feedback was you made a big mess.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a few people saying you didn't do a great job at keeping the ink to a minimum. You sort of dribbled it across the whole boat.
Oh, that's a bit rough. I thought the footage was quite smooth. In fact, that particular day, I do recall anytime you pulled out the camera and started recording me, I dropped the squid.
Yeah, you did. So it's a wonder we got any footage.
It was a bit of a miracle that one did actually come in the boat. But
and World Tuna Day, Diz, we celebrated too last week.
Yes, we did. Couple of very couple of old photos there.
Yeah, they were from Port MacDonnell, I think, Diz. And the other one that we did share, or one of the other ones we shared during the week, you know what always gets a few likes? Kids holding fish.
Yeah.
Mate, if you and I stand on the grass and hold 2 crabs, everyone's like, good on you, champs.
Yeah. You're putting that reel up there.
They love it.
Crazy. Do you remember that charter that we got those tuna on? Just to give people a little bit of an anecdote, when we rocked up to the ramp to go out with Tice, and the bloke that we were there with had a shopping bag full of Captain Morgans.
Jimmy, and he drank them by about 9 a.m. and was dead serious saying, can we nip back into the bottle shop and get some more?
And he was busily trying to convince Tyson to pause the barrel hunting and go flathead fishing.
And he probably took about 8 or 9 Captain Morgans. I probably left over from the night before.
I think that would have been.
Absolutely no interest in any ice.
Honestly, if he had a carton in Captain Morgan's, he would have polished him. He was going hard.
Absolute guru of a man.
He was. Good stuff, Rody. Let's get into the news.
Rody and Diz have been searching far and wide to bring you the latest news across all fishing in the state, and we'll give you the rundown on what you need to know.
Righto, Rody. Well, let's take the big story at the top of the news segment now. We are, of course, talking about the algal bloom, which is leading to a lot of fish deaths and peculiar behaviour of marine life across our state. The north coast of KI seems to be particularly badly affected. A number of posts coming in on the KI fishing page, as well as being shared more broadly on the fishing community. Lots of deaths over there, very devastating to see.
And lots of different species, sharks, rays, heaps of fish.
Seahorses, a lot of different stuff. I think people typically will go and find those that will get some traction on. I mean, I'm sure that there's, heaps of puffer fish dead.
Yeah.
But that sort of stuff doesn't really pull at the heartstrings as much as a seahorse does, and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, very devastating, and we've been watching this one closely. Sharks beaching themselves, a lot of sightings or footage going up of stingrays almost beaching themselves or very close into the shallows. I don't know how much to read into that.
You do see stingrays
coming close very often. So I'm not too sure about that one, but I guess, you can draw the connection between the other fish kills and bigger.
And it does make sense that the sharks or fish or whatever go into the shallow water looking for the more oxygenated water away from the algal bloom and end up beaching themselves. So that's sort of, that does make sense and sounds like that's a thing. Now, I don't know whether you had Channel 9 news on this afternoon, Diz, or this evening.
No.
Dead penguins, Metro.
Oh, wow. That's not ideal.
No. Apparently related to algal bloom too.
Jeez, that's not good. The oyster farm on Stansbury has been closed. That's not great news either.
Yeah, 6 oyster farms at Stansbury on the Yorke Peninsula have stopped harvesting after the detection of a waterborne toxin, and that means 10 million oysters have been quarantined, Diz. So positive readings for brever toxins, which are produced by several species of Carenia algae. So a PIRSA spokesperson has said here, Diz, that the department was still testing the samples. And it sounds like these oyster farmers have voluntarily shut their own businesses, sort of waiting to see what happens as the water is tested, and that's a big thing, Diz. Oyster farmer Steve Bowley was quoted as saying he could lose $500,000 worth of stock.
Not good.
So those oyster farmers at Stansbury are not happy with this, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't spread any further, because if it got to Coffin Bay into those oyster farms...
Yeah, you'd hate to think of some of the damage there.
Or you talked about the north coast of KI. I don't know whether... American Rivers had any impact, Diz?
Yeah, true. Good point, Roddy. Good point.
So that's one to keep an eye on.
Good call. All right, Roddy, there's been some cod releases happening in Mount Gambier. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so Asher Desiree from RecFish was down there the other day. They got released, including... So close to 400 kilos of Murray cod have been put in there, and they vary from a kilo in size to a metre. Into the Valley Lake at Mount Gambier, and that was as a result of some RecFish funding, and they also put money towards anyone who signed up for a RecFish membership in the last couple of weeks went to that. There is a public Facebook group called Valley Lake Fishing South Australia where you can jump on and share your catches. There were a couple of Murray cod caught pretty well straight away that were shared on that page, so that's good to see, Diz.
Yeah, love that, Roddy. Good stuff. We always love the great work that RecFish SA are up to, and this one comes as no surprise that they're doing another good thing for the community. Let's talk about our next story, Roddy, and this is a very pleasing piece of news which comes out of basically the council voting to allow fishing to continue at West Lakes.
Yeah, Diz, that was as a follow-up to that story from probably a month ago that those kids got in trouble, got yelled at by those flog adults. Down at West Lakes at, I think, Delphin Island. And at that point in time, they were doing absolutely nothing wrong. The kids were in the right. They were fishing. Good on them. Getting out, enjoying the great outdoors. What do you want them to do? Go and watch a screen all day?
Yeah, well, apparently they did.
Anyway, the council, there was a number of complaints from these locals that weren't happy for some reason. Over 40 reports were made to the council by 17 individuals, some of which did not even reside within the council area, which is interesting. Anyway, RecFish went along to the City of Charles Sturt Council meeting and presented on why RecFishing is important to the community, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there was a vote on whether fishing could be allowed to continue in this area, and it was a resounding yes, Diz. 12 votes yes, 2 votes no. So good on those kids. They win.
Yeah. You love it. That's one for the good guys and girls out there, really, I think, Rhodey. love that the councillors got around it. I think they realised how much outrage they probably would have had if they didn't support it. So pleasing to see that. And also saw Ned McHenry with that group of people down at Tackle World.
I think he sorted out some gear, didn't he?
Sorted out some gear, and those guys would have been getting stuck into some good hardcore wreck fishing, which we absolutely love. So that was really good. Rhodey, what else is happening in the news? I think we've just about ticked them all off.
That's all I've got, Diz.
Yeah, I don't have anything too groundbreaking in the news segment, so I think without further ado, Brody, we should get into the tackle item of the week.
Now it's time for Rhodey and Diz to really show you what it means to have all the gear with a lot of idea as they review a tackle item of the week.
Rhodey, we've talked about some relatively interesting topics in the tackle item of the week over the journey, and this one is going to be one that I think a lot of people would probably have in their shed up the back from one fishing mission from a long time ago, and it is, of course, the humble dabbing net.
Yeah, it is. And we talked about, I don't think it featured as our tackle item, did it? But the dodgy torch you bought.
The dodgy torch somehow got a run.
But you nailed the net.
Which was a bit harsh. The net was excellent. Unfortunately, Bill, great friend of ours and great friend of the show, he does love the podcast, I think, but
bit of a closet listener.
He didn't really know his way around that dabbing net when he was sort of trying to reverse roundhouse some gar into the net instead of following a pretty standard approach where you basically just put the net into the water behind the garfish and scoop it up. Instead, he decided to sort of flail it around in front of its face and scare it off for the first few. I think once we gave him an absolute spray of how poor his performance was, he pulled his head in and did a better job.
Dizzy, I'm not going to name any names, but we've had some ordinary gar fishermen in our boat.
We have had some horrible gar
I remember one that was no good at all.
And look,
and Goody ended up in the drink. After saying I'm not going to name any names, Goody just fell straight in the water.
Goody fell in the water. That was his own fault. That was responsible driving, responsible fishing, responsible everything. He just fell into the water. Fortunately, did have a life jacket on, and we could see him with a decent spotlight at the time.
And it was only 3 a.m. off Stokes Bay.
I must say, though, that fishing trip, we didn't have a dabbing net as such.
But we do now.
We do now.
And let's get back on the topic.
Let's talk about the difference. A dabbing net, they come in a few different sizes. This one is a perfect circle with a very fine mesh net.
The fine mesh is a game changer, isn't
The
it?
fine mesh is the game changer. That is what you're going to find the difference between different nets. So, of course, these days when you're fishing, it's most common to use a non-knotted net. The knots can often take the scales off fish and cause them a bit of damage. We are talking about EnviroNet. The Shimano range of nets is really second to none, I must say, but I don't believe they have a dabbing net range as such. So in this case, we just got ourselves down to our local BCF and grabbed ourselves a dabbing net, and it really is that fine mesh that you want. So you want it fine so it glides through the raw water really nice and quick.
And lightweight. So it doesn't get too much.
Aluminium frame for sure. And you're just able to scoop them up, get in there really quick because, my goodness, they are fast.
They're literally like those kids' nets that you get kids and they chase whitebait in the shallows. They're just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Don't overcomplicate things.
No, that's right. And what we used when we were dabbing in KI all those years ago when Goody fell in the water was, I think it might have been an EnviroNet or similar, and it just catches a bit more water. So you can't go as fast.
You're too slow.
And sometimes they'll get out. It takes a bit more of an experienced net.
Like if it's you and I, we'll still bag out.
Yeah.
But when we bring our dodgy mates along, they just stuff it up.
Really, I don't think they realise that if you slap the net in the water incredibly hard and spray water everywhere, that actually scares the garfish off. Oh. So anyway, good fun had by all.
The only thing I will say on garfish and about that net is those scales get bloody everywhere.
they get everywhere, and they look. I must say, garfish. As much as that meal of garfish that we had was very nice, I did enjoy that. But they are smelly fish, man.
Yeah, not much fun to fillet. Full
They're
stop.
smelly, and yeah,
We need to go again because I want to get good at filleting them.
yeah, we do. Good call.
All right, that's enough, Diz.
Righto. What else have we got? Mate?
I think we should get our big guest on the line,
call.
Anton Covino from Shark Alerts SA. He's a media superstar. He's been on Triple M. He's been on Sunrise. He's been in the paper. He is the man behind all things Facebook tracking of sharks.
Now it's time to get our guest on the line. We'll ask them the all-important 5 questions, then chat all things fishing in SA.
Okay, Rudy, we are lucky to be joined by the guru behind Shark Watch. That is, of course, Anton Covino. Thank you very much for joining us on the show, Anton.
Thanks so much for having me. I like how you called me a guru. I've never been called a guru before. But
Well, you just for a bit of background, you're running the Shark Watch South Australia page on social media, Facebook and Instagram. And obviously with everything that's going on in the state, you have been sort of delegated by someone as the guru, and you're taking off in the media world too, Anton.
yeah, they just keep chasing me down, and I'm being a real media whore, so to speak. I seem to be getting around all these different news stations and radio stations, and all of these journalists want my number, and it's just been really overwhelming. But I'm taking it for a ride, and taking it with as much as humility and appreciation as I can. I'm just really grateful that the opportunities presented for me to be out there in the media landscape, the media environment, and just trying to be a sponge as well to a lot of the marine biologists and experts out there, so that what I say is in fact genuine and not just stuff that I'm pulling out of my ass, so to speak. So
very good. Well, we're glad you could find some time for our humble little South Australian fishing podcast. And on that note, we do need to ask you, do you fish yourself?
Oh, guys, you're going to be devastated. I don't fish. I'm sorry. I do enjoy when the opportunity presents. I'm lazy, though. And so if someone's going to, invite me out on their boat, I would be more than happy to go out and fish with them. I think the last time I went out was off Point Turton in 2023.
Nice.
That was actually a work trip. And we bagged out on whiting, and some of the best whiting in the world. And we just got some really great fish out there, and I had a great time. I've only been fishing, this is going to let you boys down. I've probably only been fishing, honestly, like a handful of times. But in that time that I have, the elation's just been incredible. And I'll especially never forget that day that I went out in 2023 when I was pulling up all those whiting. I can just see why it's such an elation to be out there on the water. It's just an amazing way of life, a part of life that unfortunately I haven't pursued with much vigor.
Very good. Well, it sounds to me like, Anton, on that day alone, you might already have Dizzy covered. So you're not the worst fisherman on the podcast.
Oh, great. Okay.
Now, Anton, you did mention your work. Tell us about, what do you do for a job? Like, what's your background, and how did you start this Shark Watch page on Facebook and Instagram?
Cool. Yeah. So I'm a labourer, part-time. I work on a casual basis. So I have my own ABN, and I just work my own hours. So I delegate work between 2 companies at the moment. One of them is a bricklayer, and he just works for himself for another building company. And I just do all the dirty work and the hard work for him. And then also work for a building company, and that's, a couple of days a week. I've sort of just panned out with them. I'm going more into the bricklaying side of things as a labourer. I don't actually lay bricks, but that's on the side of Shark Watch. So I've actually had the past month off, which has been good. It's been different. I didn't expect to have the month off, but it's actually turned out well, because the day that I had realised that I had the month off, or I was told to have the month off, that was the first time we sighted Brucey at Aldinga. And from there, I just went on a mad hunt to find this shark. And yeah, just basically have spent the past month just working flat stick on Shark Watch every day, which has really paid off. So it's been a blessing. How Shark Watch started? It started off in 2014. Back when I was in year 12, I started it as a part of my high school research project. So it was an extension of that. So my question was, what are other preventative measures of preventing shark attacks? And what really drew my interest was the WA Twitter feed, because they have the acoustic measures in place where with the tracking systems they have with the sharks, it registers an automated ping when it comes within a certain distance of the receiver, and that would be live broadcast to the public on their Twitter feed. So I thought, this is a fantastic idea. I wonder if South Australia has anything like a watch and act system in place for shark sightings. So back then I looked up, like even just a basic shark sighting South Australia, shark alert South Australia, and I couldn't find anything on social media. As a matter of fact, I'm a big adamant water user myself. I love going out on the water, doing a lot of snorkeling, a lot of kayaking. And so for me, I also, I wanted to know where the sharks were. And so the best thing that I had at the time was the shitty old Purser shark sightings log, so which still exists today.
Yeah.
If you ask me, it's a system that looks like it's about 100 years old. But I just thought there's got to be a better way of doing this, and I think it would have been fun. For me, I enjoy presenting information in like an orderly, organized fashion. It's like a weird sort of part of me. I've been doing it all my life, that I present sort of, even in my schooling, I would present information in a very ordered fashion, and it would just sort of, the teacher was a bit puzzled by it, but he was just amazed as well. And this was when I was only in like grade 6. So for me, to be publishing shark sightings on that platform kind of was like an interactive data service as well. So that's how the Shark Watch story came about. I thought we got to start publicising shark sightings in real time, and I did it for about a year. I had 2 followers on Shark Sighting South Australia, as it was called back then, for about a year. And then one day I reached out to Perth Metro Shark Alerts, who had about 11,000 followers, and I said, could you promote me? And they said, yeah, we can give you a hand with that. We'll share your Facebook page on ours. And then literally the moment they did that, I had 2,000 people jump on from Western Australia. So I had a huge Western Australian audience, and surely enough, it just started attracting some South Aussie attention. I started getting 1 or 2 more sightings, and then one day in 2015, I had a boater come through and send through a photo of a big great white that mauled his crab bed at Port Augusta. And that was the first ever photo that I'd been sent in. And that was the first ever viral post. So that got 28,000 organic views, which back then that was like huge.
Yeah.
And then, it literally, that was in August of 2015. And within that whole period, I think I got 15,000 followers. And then from there, in that coming time, it just kept ramping up, more photos, more videos. And then by the time it got to 2016, the page went absolutely bunter. So that's when the media hype started as well. And that's what really has kept the Shark Watch service thriving. It's a community effort. Without the community putting in their shark sightings, it really wouldn't stand to where it is today. So I'm very grateful of that.
Yeah, it's great that everyone sends in their reports and their photos and all that, and it makes it a great page that it is today. Now, I want you to tell us, firstly, how many followers are you up to on Facebook and Instagram? And now tell us about your website and your podcast and your merch and all these other things that you've grown into.
Oh, thanks so much for this opportunity. Yeah, so first and foremost, the Instagram now, and it has 33,000. The Facebook has, now this is the interesting part. So if you go and look on Shark Watch on Facebook, you'll find like 3 different pages. So there's the original Shark Watch South Australia that I lost access to in 2019 because of a Facebook policy violation, which is absolutely ridiculous. But that has 150,000 people on it. So that's the original page. The one after that, that's called the New Shark Watch, was hacked. And that has, I think, 14,000 people on it. The third and final Facebook page, I hope it's the last page I'll ever create for Shark Watch on Facebook, currently stands at 48,000 followers. And that was within 6 months that I've been able to gain that following. So it's absolutely massive. So the demand is evident. We obviously need this service here. Now, where am I going? The website has some pretty good traffic coming through. It's a well-established website. It could be curated and ordered a bit better. It needs to be updated, but it just takes a lot of time to get that sorted. But yeah, the merch line started in, when did that started sort of in December or January, and that's doing okay. It's getting a few sales here and there, and look, I mean, I'm open to working with designers if they want to contribute. So yeah, it's all doing very well. It's an up and coming project, but it's just exploding in most recent times. The podcast is doing very well as well. The Sharks Cast, as it's called. So I'm actually in the process now of doing some edits to a very, very special Sharks Cast where we're going to have the gentleman who pulled Kai Cowley's body from the water. He's going to be joining the Sharks Cast for a very special event on probably next week. I'm going to upload it. We filmed it yesterday. I met with the 2 gentlemen. His name is Tim Phillip. His son is Dry Phillip, and they were involved in the retrieval of Kai Cowley's body at Ethelrek Beach. So this is going to be a huge event. This is the first time that Tim's come out, I believe, on a media platform to actually talk about his ordeal with his son. So he chose Shark Watch because he knows it's a uniquely South Australian page, and we're in full support of any sort of shark attack mitigation measures here. So that's huge. We had Nat Drummond on recently, who was thrown from his kayak off Seacliff, and that was able to reach 1 million views. And yeah, I've had Elise Lavers come on, and she does, sup tours and kayak tours. She's had 2 encounters on the kayak with a shark. So we're getting some massive names, and it's just it's a good spread of different people who have these great stories to tell and have great sort of background on the water.
Epic. We love that, Anton. Thank you very much. Now tell us what's on the horizon for shark alerts. Are we talking some live drone footage? Are we going to keep getting some really innovative stuff from the platform that you've done such a brilliant job in creating? And yeah, give us a bit of insight into the pipeline, mate.
Yeah, so this is where it gets exciting now. So we're in the stages now coming into winter. We've just launched a little drone campaign for rec drone users. So anyone who's got who's a recreational pilot of a drone, I encourage you all to get your CASA accreditation certificate. It's only a half an hour course online going through the basic CASA rules and regulations that you should follow if you're operating a drone. It's a no-brainer to get it. And as soon as you get that, what you can do is contact me, and I'll add you into our little drone shark spotters group where everyone sort of delegates their own spare time to having this great fun activity where we go out and we look for these sharks that have been sighted. So if there's a white pointer that's been publicly spotted at, say, Maslin's Beach, or, wouldn't want to put a drone up at Maslin's Beach, but maybe Port MacDonnell.
You picked the wrong example there, Anton.
What's that, sorry?
You picked the wrong example, Maslin's.
I had the the binos up at Blanche is at Blanche Point, and and curiosity, I tell you, gets the best of you. I would think, but so when we get these sightings come through, it's exciting in the sense that, okay, if there's one down on the Fleurieu Peninsula, we can get, if we have 50 people in that group or 100 people that are from the Fleurieu Peninsula, and you're all rec drone users and you want to go out and look for sharks in your spare time, it's not a commercial operation, so there's none of the overheads or any of the red tape that's attached to it, right? Go out responsibly, delegate it between other people in the group, and figure out what times you want to go out so we have a consistent coverage on the water. I know that any drone operator that has, say, 3 batteries has about an hour or two worth of coverage on the water. So if we have a dozen people or 5 or 6 people go and look for this shark in one day, and everyone's going in their own time slots, it just makes it a great initiative to add extra surveillance on the water for a shark that's been sighted. I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer. It will require drone users to be vigilant and to abide by the council regulations and the bylaws and things of that nature to ensure that this is a successful sort of project. But it's just a great incentive for people to go out and do their community service will. And we're going to see more sharks when we're doing it, obviously. We're going to add the extra bit of peace of mind if we're doing it in a safe manner that's respecting the environment around us and other beachgoers. It's, in a way that's non-invasive and non-intrusive. If you get a 4K or an 8K quality footage of a white shark, you're able to potentially look at individuals from a whole nother level, determine different species, potentially get a good camera shot of the dorsal fin profile to locate an individual. Does it have a tag on its fin? Is there a marking, or is it injured? Right. So the whole paradigm of opportunity, the window of opportunities just opens up. It explodes now at this point. We've got all of this surveillance on the water. We've got all of these different people with eyes on the water. I mean, we're going to be able to add that extra surveillance, those missing pieces, those gaps that need to be surveyed during times when perhaps swimmers are still in the water because people are swimming at 6 a.m. going for their morning swims,
Very good, Anton. Now, we've got a drone ourselves, so you could be looking at your 2 newest drone pilots here, Anton.
Amazing. That's exciting. Yeah, jump on.
Very good. We'll do that. Now, Anton, tell us, obviously, anyone who's watched any social media, news, anything in South Australia at the moment would know that there's a hell of a lot of sharks being seen in the shallow water at the moment. You mentioned the one that was sort of down Aldinga Way. A couple of weeks ago, we've seen great whites beached on metro beaches over at Ardrossan. Lots of sharks sighted. Dizzy's dad saw one the other week. They are everywhere. Can you tell us about how the last couple of weeks has played out for your page and your sort of understanding of what's going on?
It's just been something that's been incomprehensible, honestly. I haven't been able to keep up with everything. Not in my wildest sort of imagination did I ever think that this sort of event was going to unfold as it has over the past month or so. It started with the sighting of what's called Brucey at Aldinga over that Easter break period, and that went absolutely bunter. So just to give you boys a bit of an insight as to what sort of traffic this has generated for Sharkwatch alone, I'll get up my insights right now. But it's just been absolutely phenomenal. So in the past month alone, Sharkwatch right now, as I look at my insights, on the Facebook page alone has had 19.4 million views. So that's not just in Australia alone, but that's also around the world. So this content is going viral around the world. And for that reason, we're getting a lot of opinion and a lot of feedback and commentary from, say, people from the States, people from the UK, And that can be a little bit frustrating because when you're trying to moderate things and you're getting people from the States saying it's a white pointer is a black tip reef shark, it's not an ideal situation.
Yeah.
So, but it started with the Brucey sightings down at Aldinga. That was very close to shore. Multiple sightings of this 3 to 4 meter shark, and I'm sure it would have had to have been the same shark, judging by the movement, but we can't confirm it scientifically. But that was around from Normanville to Port Wollonga, just cruising around that area. I had a couple of drone patrols looking for the shark, but unfortunately we were never able to locate it. And it looks like it hasn't beached itself or washed up at this stage, which is a good thing. So from there, I actually spent maybe about a couple of nights on the Esplanade or at the beach itself, Selix Beach. I slept in my car. I had a wild experience down there, like in terms of just the time that I had chatting with the locals, catching up with all these different drone users, and just getting a really great response from what we were doing there. From there, I guess it's just pretty much unfolded at Ardrossan in most recent times. We've had bronzies at Aldinga still and Port Wollonga, which usually by this time, from the anecdotal observations that I've collected over the years, the bronzies would sort of leave into deeper waters. They'd migrate south at this time. But from here, it's been to Ardrossan. Now, in 11 years that I've been managing Shark Watch, I've never heard of a white shark at Ardrossan Jetty. So that's an interesting observation, let alone two that are about 3 meters in length. So obviously there's been some sort of irregularity that is occurring through the anecdotal observations that I've collected, especially the beaching of the white shark at Ardrossan is something that I've never heard of, at least. So,
and what about, like the most sort of common theory on why these sharks are being seen or why they're beaching themselves or ending up in shallow water is that this algal bloom that's been well documented is, sucking the oxygen out of the water, and they're getting in really shallow water looking for that more oxygenated water and then getting themselves beached or whatever related to that. Is that sort of the theory you subscribe to?
Yeah, I think I'm subscribing to it by now. I think there's enough evidence to suggest that. I actually spoke to a very well-educated diver known as Janine Baker. She actually I got in contact with her, was recommended to get in touch with her by Andrew Fox. She's done a fantastic breakdown on it. She's provided me with so much documentation this evening that I'm yet to read through just about the algae bloom. And it is suggesting that it's actually causing the sharks to suffocate and the other marine life, unfortunately, to be in this predicament. And that's why they're washing up, dying. So it's a horrible situation. I would say with the evidence I've been provided, that would be the most logical conclusion and outcome. But it would be interesting to see what the pathology results are going to be like from Persa and Sardi with these fishes, with this marine life. So, yeah, it's just a matter of keeping on top of that and providing transparent updates for the Shark Watch community.
All right, and Anton, apart from this, month or so where there's been a real spike in sharks that have been spotted, you would say over the last few years there are, more reports of sharks and more sightings of sharks as time has gone on. Do you have a theory whether that's to do with sort of fishing restrictions and fishing for great whites being outlawed, 40 or 50 years ago, and the numbers have just grown because of that? Or do you think it's the fact that more people have social media, take photos, take videos, and that's why we're hearing more about it, as opposed to there actually being any more sharks? Do you have a theory on that?
Yeah, I subscribe to all of the above. Like I genuinely believe that is it's a combination of everything that you've mentioned. I don't see how it wouldn't be an illogical thing to subscribe to, especially when you have a community of commercial fishers and divers who have lived their life on the water and who observe this. I mean, I would be taking their advice as much as it's just genuine sort of sighting observations from their behalf, and it could be a perceived sort of observation. I do believe that there's no reason why it can't be those theories. Absolutely not. If you're banning the fishing of snapper and the snapper numbers are just exploding, and they're going to all these different parts, then maybe it is driving the sharks closer to shore. The fact that they've been protected species for so long and they're going to keep breeding, well, that's another thing. It's logical that they're going to, I guess, repopulate it at a rate that we're seeing now over 40 or 50 years, that we're going to notice the numbers more. And commercial fishers have said that. People that have been out in the water for 20 or 30 years, I see the comments quite often that they are exploding in numbers. And I'm open to having that freedom of speech on Shark Watch. I do think it's important to have people stating their testimonies, as long as it's in a respectful manner to others on the page. I don't see any problem with that. And I'm willing to work with these individuals as well, so we can get to the bottom of this, to have them on the Sharks Cast and explaining their stories. So I would say social media as well, and especially the uprising of Shark Watch, has a huge role to play in it. The more that Shark Watch is going to keep growing, it's actually a little bit of a concerning thing to think of. It's something that I'm going to have to mitigate. The fear, the whole anxiety around sharks in the ocean is only going to keep growing if there's going to be an explosion of sightings reported. And the bigger the Shark Watch community gets, the more sightings are reported, and the more the media is going to cover it as well. So this is a space that I'll have to moderate heavily. It's a space that I'll have to devote to a proper sort of campaign to, or implement measures to actually subdue that from being a real problem, the anxiety factor.
Yep, very good, Anton. That was one thing I did have down to ask you as well, about sort of the fear-mongering that sometimes gets displayed on Facebook and things like that. But it's great to see that you're aware of that, and know that that's something we've got to be aware of, because there's nothing more frustrating than when you get that. I've had the advertiser app give me a little notification saying shark spotted at Southern Beach or whatever, and then you read the article and it's like a 4-foot bronze whaler that's not going to do any damage to anyone.
They had one recently under the Marion Bay jetty that was a juvenile, and they labelled it a 4-metre white pointer. It was a 2-metre juvenile. That's unacceptable. I mean, look, I've made wording mistakes a lot, right? I'll use words sometimes that I wish I'd taken back. For example, I've used words such as lurking, right? And that's been taken out of context. I was simply using the word lurking to say they were lurking for their prey of fish, but people just seem to think that I'm a fear-mongering page, but it's not the case. When I get sightings come through, I do hype up any sighting that has a great white with, genuinely, because I'm excited for it. It doesn't mean I'm trying to incentivize, fear throughout the community. I just love seeing great whites. Like, I lose it if I see a good quality footage of a great white. I think we all do. So I think people do get confused sometimes where if the information isn't outlaid in a professionally written format, and there's a bit of emotion conveyed behind it, right? And I'm not going to lie, I do enjoy having the views there, and it's good to have the views up there. But it's just unfortunate you get a minority of the crowd that does feel like you're trying to incentivize a fear campaign among the community. That's in no way what I've ever tried to do with Shark Watch. It's about presenting information in a formal manner so that people are informed in real time of a shark's presence. The more views that a shark gets within, say, half an hour of its sighting, that's potentially another life saved, who's able to locate that shark and then make an action plan to avoid the area. It's as simple as that. So, yeah.
Great call, Anton. You've done a wonderful job with the page. We can tell the passion in the way that you speak, and you've joined us on the podcast. You've been exceptionally generous with your time, mate. Thank you very much for coming on and telling us about your story and some of the recent sightings. We certainly wish you all the best, mate, and keep up the fantastic work. And I think you'll probably see Rhodey out there with the drone before too long. He doesn't mind drone piloting, if you will, but all I would say is if you're on a jetty nearby, look out, because he's not a very responsible pilot. Thanks, Anton.
He's got nothing to do with me.
Thanks a lot for your time, Anton, and we'll make sure we share your page and get everyone involved.
Thanks so much for having me, and and it's a pleasure to be on this podcast, and I've seen the work that you're doing, so I'm a huge fan, and thank you. Thanks again.
All right, Dizzy, a very, very interesting chat with Anton Covino, the Shark Watch SA Facebook man, Instagram. He's got the website. He's got it all. And Diz, he has been a busy man because there are plenty of shark sightings at the moment.
Yes, there are. It was great to have him on the show. Fantastic to hear all of the work that he's been doing and what he's got in the pipeline, Rhodey. So good to have him on the show.
All right, let's get in the fishing report.
Rhodey and Diz have been out on the water to bring you the news about where they're biting. Now it's time for the fishing report.
Great stuff, Rhodey. Let's talk a little bit about some of the great whites washing up. So this was at the Torrens Outlet on Henley Beach, I think, Rhodey. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
So I think it was. And one was seen in the shallows at Ardrossan, and fortunately there was a few locals down there going for their morning walk on the beach that spotted it, and they managed to get out there and encourage the shark back into deeper waters to a successful saviour, I think it would be fair to say.
And I did hear, I can't remember who it was, someone from Pursa, I think it was, interviewed on the radio and was asked the question, should you push the shark back in or not? What would you do, Diz?
Well, I mean, I think I would say yes, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Pursa person said no.
I'm not sure it's sort of totally encouraged legally. I think it's more of a you get out of the way and call fish watch. But I reckon if you had a couple of capable mates, you'd give it a whirl. If you're one out in waist deep water, I think there's potential for it to go wrong.
Yeah, I think.
But if you're just in real shallow water where it can't really get around that well, and there's one or two of you on either side of the shark to push it in the right direction, maybe you give it a whirl.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not sure we can say that, Diz, because if someone doesn't and gets chomped.
Look, we certainly take no liability whatsoever for your actions, and we're not encouraging anything.
And this is one of those things that we talk a big game and we'd probably be scared and stand back from a distance and poke it with a stick and say, there you go, mate, the water's that way.
Yeah, this is true. But, I'd be interested whether that was the same one at Ardrossan that Dad happened to see a few days earlier.
Yes,
or a day earlier.
Very well could have been.
It seems a little bit too closely connected there. So that was interesting. Dad's been out, mate. He's been cleaning up on squid. He reckons he got 15 squid in 15 minutes or thereabouts. So that easy. He reckons he could have got, could have got as many as he liked. Of course, he didn't. He got 15 and got home. He has been telling me, I think somebody, or there was sort of word going around there that somebody has been got caught by fisheries catching an enormous amount of squid. I don't know that this has hit the paper or common articles just yet, but was fishing alongside one of the pros. Of course, we've seen the pro.
Yeah, they're often there between sort of Sheak Flat, Port Vincent way.
Yeah, and basically was just sitting on the same drift as the pro and was cleaning up as many squid as probably the pro was, and the pro said, well, I'm paying for my fishing license, you're not, so I'm going to report you, and got done.
Wow, whack.
Yeah. So
Haven't seen that one hit the media yet.
We'll see whether that hits the media, but that's a little bit of a... I should have probably gone on to Triple M's rumour mill for that one.
You could have. Diz, your dad is the squid whisperer too, just quietly. He nails them. Every time I see him or speak to you, Davo's got squid. Davo's got squid. We need a fishing report. Davo's got squid.
Well, he didn't do too well.
Does he eat anything but squid?
He only got 5 whiting. Didn't do that flash on the whiting. But couple of extra jars of pickled squid coming our way. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah,
Last batch was decent.
Him and Di have got. They don't need to shop anymore. Davo's catching off squid for 7 days a
Living
week.
off land. Shane mum doesn't eat squid.
Oh, and shame some of Davo's pickled squids have been a little bit on the edge.
Some of Dad's pickled squid have had more garlic than squid in the jar. So
They're better than pickled eggs, though.
You don't want to go anywhere near anybody breathing for like a week after you have a bit of that pickled squid. There's that much garlic in them. But no, well done on the squid. Love that. Let's talk a little bit about the Port Mac barrels, Roddy. They've been getting some. And, of course, the fishing comp is going on right now as we speak in Port Mac.
I think the barrels were going probably pretty well, 2 or 3 weeks ago before the weather got a bit worse for a period. But to some extent they're backed is because I think Tyson caught a couple, I want to say. Maybe 2 in 2 days or 3 over 2 days or something like that aboard Want to Fish charters.
Yeah, they've got a few and I have seen quite a few coming out of Portland.
Yeah, Portland's been really good, I reckon. So that's certainly going well, Diz. And the Port MacDonnell Offshore Angling Club is also having its annual competition week at the moment. And I think they've had a couple of bad days of weather sort of midweek. So they've been focusing on the bread and butter species. So your salmon, garfish, whiting and flathead were weighed in the last couple of days, Diz. So that's a great competition just in that you have good weather and you go out and you catch your gummy sharks, you catch your big tuna, all of that sort of things, Diz. But then when the weather's no good, there's plenty of backup options and it caters for all.
Good call.
Very good call. Now, Diz, the winter whiting.
Yeah, look, we're hearing a few reports. I think the metro whiting, winter whiting are really starting to show up. Good friend of the show, Hugh, has been doing a good job getting out and getting stuck into a few. And we've been doing all right when we've got out and about, but we haven't sort of tried the metro waters very recently. But, of course, it is this time of year where they come in nice and close to some of those typical locations. You can get out and get yourself a feed.
And we got, about 24, 48 hours to earn enough brownie points to go out this weekend, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, I know. Fingers crossed. Let's hope so, mate. Let's absolutely hope so. And I think that just about brings the fishing report to an end, Roddy.
I think it does, Diz, and it's just about the end of another great episode of All the Gear But No Idea.
Good call. You can, of course, find us on all of the platforms that you would get any podcast, Spotify, Apple Music, everything in between. And look, I'm not going to lie. If you are still tuning in at this point of the episode, I am disappointed in the lack of voice memos.
All right, Diz, let's leave it on that note. When you just slammed all the listeners that have stuck with us for an hour or so and you've just given them a whack.
Send us in your voice memos and keep up the great work. And, we'll chat to you next time, guys.
Rhodey and Diz hope you enjoyed today's episode of All the Gear But No Idea. Keep up to date by liking and sharing us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms. Until next time, good luck fishing.